Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't miss the DID Electrical Big Summer Sale with free delivery on selected premium TVs, vacuum cleaners and USA fridge freezers. Free gifts with selected large appliances and free wireless charger with selected smartphones and wearables. Shop Guaranteed Irish at your local DID Electrical and DID.ie.
At Iconic Offices, we've redesigned our workspaces, investing in a safer working environment for our clients. As a flexible workspace provider, our solution enables your business growth, supported by a premium service, all wrapped up in one monthly fee. Whether you're a startup, SME, or a Fortune 500 company, we have a solution for you. We are Iconic Offices, 16 Dublin city centre locations, and we're ready to support your business. Find out how at iconicoffices.ie.
Some are tall, others are small. Some are older, some are older? No, never. There's nothing uniform about kids, except their uniform. Shop dunstores.com for our full back-to-school range ready to deliver safely to your door. Or collect for free at your nearest Dunnes stores. For back-to-school, go to dunstores.com today. Terms and conditions apply.
Kevin Sharkey, Ireland's leading contemporary artist. His first exhibition of 28 abstract paintings sold out in 24 hours and first auction in under 2 hours. Don't miss your chance to acquire a stunning original Kevin Sharkey painting direct from the artist. This Saturday and Sunday at the Grand Hotel Malahide from 11 till 7. Search kevin-sharkey.com for details.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
You're very welcome back to Off the Ball. Time for us to have a look at football. We'll be looking back at the FA Cup final. Mikel Arteta getting his first silverware as Arsenal manager. Their number 14 proving the crucial player as they landed their 14th FA Cup title. But will Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang be staying at Arsenal beyond next summer? We'll also be looking forward to what's going to be a very interesting period ahead in the Champions League and Europa League, including that huge game tomorrow between Man City and the champions of Spain, Real Madrid. I'm delighted to say we're joined on the line by Republic of Ireland legend John Giles. John, good evening to you.
Good evening, Will.
John, we'll start with the FA Cup final because I heard you talking to Nathan last week. You were sweet enough on Chelsea's chances going into that derby against Arsenal, but even by Frank Lampard's own admission, they were really off it last Saturday night.
I was very, very disappointed in them, Will. I did tip them. I fancied them strongly, to be quite honest. I didn't think Arsenal would be there. They started off well, got a goal, and then went to bits. And to be fair to Arsenal, they did pick it up. But I have to say with Frank Lampard, he's done a good job, but he needs to get a defence. I thought the two centre-backs, Zuma and Rudiger, were very, very poor. And they have lost a lot of goals as well, and they need a goalkeeper. You know, Kepa hasn't, they spent a lot of money on him, so he's a bit of work to do. I think he's done quite well so far, but I was very, very disappointed in their response to Arsenal coming back at them last week. They were really, really poor.
Yeah, because all the money they've been spending so far, John, has been about the attack. They've brought in Ziyech, they've brought in Timo Werner, they might bring in Kai Havertz, but I would imagine a lot of work is needed on the back line, and Kepa has become a major issue. I know Willy Caballero was in goal for the FA Cup final last week, but Kepa was bang out of form even going into the last few weeks of the season. Yeah,
I don't think he's done it since he got there, Will, to be honest. You know, I don't think his form has been great since he's come to the club. He doesn't. I spent a lot of money on him. What did they spend? About 70 million or something, didn't they?
World record for a goalkeeper, I think, before Alisson went to Liverpool.
A huge disappointment. You know, when you consider that you know, the goalkeeper Liverpool got, Manchester City got, you know, terrific, got really, really worth their money. This lad hasn't, so he's got a job to do there with the centre defenders and the goalkeeper, which is a lot. It's a lot to do. Yeah. But very, very disappointing.
Difficult positions to try and recruit into, not as if there's a whole lot of options around for centre-backs or top goalkeepers. For Arsenal, John, this is a big lift, isn't it? Because this season was, if they'd lost the final, it's a miserable looking season. They've gone through 3 different managers and they failed to qualify for the Europa League or Champions League if they hadn't won last Saturday. This bought their ticket into Europe and it brings a trophy for Mikel Arteta. Have you been impressed at his management job at Arsenal so far?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job so far in very, very difficult circumstances. You know, he inherited a lot of trouble. Ozil, for one. I don't think he was even in the country last week. So that's still a problem with him. He's got Aubameyang now, I think he's 31, I believe, Will.
He is.
And he's very, very good. He actually won the cup for them. Now, what are they going to do? His contract is up next year. He's 31. He's in a very strong position to demand a big contract. Are they going to give it to him? It's going to be difficult to know. Arteta's got to get the backing now of the board. I think whatever he wants now, they're going to have to give it to him because he's going to be free next year. Players don't commit themselves, I don't think, when they're going to be out of contract at the end of the season. And they need him really, really badly.
Yeah, I get the feeling they have to keep Aubameyang because at this point he's scoring more than a goal a game. I think he's got over 50 goals in 80-odd appearances in the Premier League. He showed his composure with the way he finished against Man City in the semi-final and then that gorgeous chip in the final against Chelsea. Yeah. That's the type of quality that Arsenal will probably struggle to attract in, John. Definitely.
They're in a very, very difficult position because they've been a bit wary about paying anybody big money like they gave Ozil. But obviously this fella's done more than Ozil ever did at Arsenal. So they're in a difficult position. Do they do the same thing again? And he's 31. Is he still going to do it? I think they have to do it. I think the fans will demand it. I think they'll have to do it. And as long as Aubameyang keeps performing the way he has done, we've seen with players before, Will, they get the contract and then they put their feet up. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do that, but it's always a temptation to do it. I've seen it so many times that they play their boots off to get the contract, and then they don't try as hard anymore. So that's what they have to judge at this particular stage with Aubameyang.
It is a risk, I suppose, in terms of the age profile as well, John. Willian reportedly is going to sign from Chelsea on a 3-year contract. Chelsea only wanted to give him 2. He's 32 years of age. Aubameyang is looking for a 2 or 3 year contract, probably bumper wages. They've given David Luiz a contract extension. He's the wrong side of 30. After a while, these guys become expensive when, in theory, their career is going to be on the decline.
Yeah, well, they've got to keep doing it. Are they going to do it? This is the problem, you see, Will. They get the big contract, and we've seen it so many times before. Fella and then he stops playing because he knows he has. Well, Ozil did it, and he got the big contract, and that was the end of it. He hasn't kicked the ball since. Now it depends what type of character Aubameyang is, and the other players that's in that position. But I don't think they're going to have any choice. I think he's holding all the cards, Aubameyang, because the fans will go mad if they let him go. And if he doesn't do what's needed to be done and he eases down a bit, they're going to be in trouble there. So it's a very difficult one for them.
An Arsenal great favourite in Ian Wright has been speaking this evening about the decision that Arsenal took yesterday where they've decided to let 55 of their staff go because of COVID-19. I think this seems particularly galling for some Arsenal fans and quite sad as well, John, when you consider that they've got a billionaire main owner in Stan Kroenke. They're paying people like Mesut Ozil £300,000 a week to sit at home and not even be involved in the squad at the moment. And here's 55 people who are probably earning very little at the club and they've now lost their jobs during this pandemic.
Oh, it's dreadful. It's dreadful. There's no excuse for it. The amount of money that they're spending on the players and in relation to that type of situation, it's peanuts. But remember, Liverpool tried it. Well,
yeah, and it was a backlash.
They were going to lay off a thing, and they changed their mind because of the response actually from the supporters. Because don't forget, most of the supporters in football clubs, whether it be Liverpool or Arsenal, are working class people themselves, and they don't like working class people, which most of those lads are working for Arsenal or Liverpool, are going to lose their jobs. Yeah. It's not like, well, I think they weren't losing their jobs at Liverpool. I think they were furloughed, but the government was paying the money, and that was it. But it's shameful, to say the least, that a club like Arsenal, who have the money and spent the money and are talking about giving Aubameyang, $300,000, probably $300,000 a week, that they can lay people off. I think it's very, very bad form. I don't think it'll happen. I think the supporters will react against this, Will.
In terms of a man who lost his job, who was very popular with a set of supporters, Eddie Howe at Bournemouth has stepped away after their relegation from the Premier League back down to the Championship. Quite remarkable, last 5 or 6 years that he's had in charge. Took over when they weren't in the best of spots, got them up through the Championship into the Premier League, and they were a steady Premier League team over the last few years. Eventually, I guess time caught up with them somewhat this year and they went down from the Premier League. But Eddie Howe can probably feel it's quite unfortunate for him that this marriage with Bournemouth has ended the way it has.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him. I think he's done a great job there, but Will, to be honest. But there's always a possibility that when you're performing miracles, which I think he did to do what he did, that it's going to come at you somewhere along the line. And Big Jack, the late Jack Charlton, used to say to me, "Don't stay any longer than 3 years, because fans get used to you, and if you're performing miracles, they expect it every year." And it's happened to Eddie Howe. There's no doubt that it's caught up with him. It's caught up with him, and I don't know whether he resigned or whether he was sacked. Well, I mean, I think they came to a conclusion that maybe he was paid by his from his side, that he was paid off to do it. But I'm sure they could have kept him if they'd wanted to keep him, to be honest. But maybe they were generous. They let him go and felt it was. When you do what he's done for the number of years that he's done, it's going to happen, Will. It's going to happen. And he performed miracles to do what he's done. What he should have done, in my opinion, about 2 or 3 years ago, go somewhere else. Just go somewhere else. In other words, I've done my stuff there, get on with the job. And with the reputation he had, it wouldn't be too long about getting another job.
Yeah, because his stock was very high. I mean, I remember when Arsenal were looking at Arsene Wenger going into the last year of his contract, Eddie Howe was one of those guys who was being linked with the position, probably because the type of football that Bournemouth play would have probably sat quite nicely with the way things go at the Emirates. His stock has maybe taken a bit of a knock, John, given that he's now been part of a relegated team. But I'm guessing that Eddie Howe will find his way back into Premier League management again. I
think he will. I think people will football people will look and say, well, he did a great job for 5 years under very, very difficult circumstances. I think if he holds on, we all know once the next season starts again, after 10 matches, there'll be people looking for at least 5 managers. Well, that's the way it goes. Somebody has to be bottom of the league. Everybody can. You get the bottom 4, bottom 5. They panic then, and I think he's built up enough, his reputation enough, to get a reasonable job. But 3 years ago or 2 years ago, if he gave up Bournemouth, he would certainly be in with a better chance of getting a better job. But I think his reputation is still quite high, and it's a shame that it's happened the way it did, because he's done a great job there for a number of years. Yeah, the nature of modern football will probably have plenty of sackings early in the new season, which is just 5 weeks away now at this point. It's amazing how short the actual break we have. John, we've got football, which is continuing on at the moment too, because we've got the Champions League and Europa League, which is happening. Man City are in action against Real Madrid tomorrow in the Champions League. They're 2-1 up after winning at the Bernabeu, what was over 5 months ago now. They won back in February, that night when Kevin De Bruyne was so good against Real Madrid. Are you expecting that Man City are going to progress against the Spanish champions tomorrow night? It's impossible to know, Will. I'm not trying to evade the question. I would, but everything is topsy turvy with the long delay that they've had in these particular matches. So, looking at Real Madrid on the night, I would definitely fancy City to go through. But I don't gamble anyway. But I wouldn't be putting much money on it, because everything is so much has happened since the lockdown and the match is finished. You saw the results in when the English teams, the Premiership, got back into shape again. Some of the results were remarkable. Teams doing exceptionally well who had been doing poorly, like Burnley, for example, with a great run. Leicester having a terrible run. It's a long time to be off. But they were very good in Madrid, but that was, you say, was it 4 months ago, 5 months ago? So it's difficult to know, but they do have the advantage of the goal. So, and that's a huge advantage in tight matches like this. If I was a City fan, I'd be keeping my fingers crossed, Will. Yeah, well, Sergio Ramos is suspended, which might help City a little bit too. In terms of City, John, they've been splashing the cash. They got over their financial fair play problems, so they've been able to go back into the transfer market again. They brought 2 players in Ferran Torres, who's been very good for Valencia, the young Spanish winger this season, and Nathan Ake, the Dutch defender, has joined from Bournemouth for £42 million. City have spent a lot of money on that defence, John. I know you were saying last week you're not entirely convinced that Nathan Ake is the solution to their defensive problems. Well, I think he's a very, 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 very good player for Bournemouth, definitely. Is he what City need? He's good. I think he's very good. But what they need is Van Dijk, which is very difficult to get, or a really, really commanding centre forward or centre half. I think the lad from Italy, playing in the south of Italy, I can't think it.
Koulibaly, for Napoli.
There was talk about him. Now he would be, from what I've seen of him, Will, he'd be the man to go who can really dominate that defence. I'm not so sure Aki can. I think he's good, but is he good for Manchester City in that position and what's needed? I'd have my doubts. Yeah,
it's a big step up, John. It's difficult for any player to go from, where he was at Chelsea and he was a young player with their academy, went to Bournemouth, flourished in the first period he was at Bournemouth, then had a difficult season this year, given that Bournemouth had to do a lot of defending. It's a big swap from that to being a commanding centre-half in Man City's defence.
Oh, definitely. Like Van Dijk was the ideal. He had a reputation, there's no doubt about that, and has done the job, which was badly needed at Liverpool. I wouldn't be putting any money on Aki being. He's certainly not as good as those particular players that is needed. He is good, and he was exceptionally good for Bournemouth. But Bournemouth they were relegated, but they were never going to be in the position that City are in. And I think City really need the top-class defender, and that they've been missing since Company went.
Yeah, I get the feeling Pep Guardiola's not finished with his spending for this summer period. They've got until the end of October to bring in recruits. John is going to stick with us. We're going to take a very short break. We're looking at the rest of the Champions League when we come back.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. As potent as Rashford and Fernandes. Post-lockdown. Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Hate missing out? News Talk Extra is news, entertainment and all the latest podcasts, plus expert tips and competitions straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com/extra.
At Guaranteed Irish, we believe enterprise is at the heart of thriving communities.
Like Black Knight, the #1 Irish web host. From small beginnings in 2003, today Black Knight hosts more Irish websites than anyone else, offering email, domains and a range of business services. Operating locally and trading internationally, the Black Knight team in Carlow supports 84,000 customers in 130 countries. Guaranteed Irish welcomes companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Our grandfather founded Stafford's Funeral Homes in 1953. Generations later, the people we've met and the lives we've helped to celebrate continue to be our inspiration. That's why Stafford's now have some of the most comfortable facilities in Ireland and provide more choice and control for families. Inspired by our grandfather, Tom Stafford, we are proud to serve our community with the highest standards of funeral care. Stafford's. Trust our family to take care of yours.
On Wednesday, August 12th from 5 to 7 p.m, National College of Ireland is hosting a virtual open evening where our lecturers and admissions team will be live online to answer questions about our wide range of full and part-time courses. To register, call 1850 221 721 or visit ncirl.ie.
Kevin Sharkey, Ireland's leading contemporary artist. His first exhibition of 28 abstract paintings sold out in 24 hours and first auction in under 2 hours. Don't miss your chance to acquire a stunning original Kevin Sharkey painting direct from the artist. This Saturday and Sunday at the Grand Hotel Malahide from 11 till 7. Search kevin-sharkey.com for details.
Going on holidays in Ireland this summer? Don't forget to bring your Dunnes Stores 10 off 50 grocery vouchers with you and save even more. Whether you're camping in Kerry or windsurfing in Waterford, you can use our 10 off 50 grocery vouchers in any of our grocery stores across Ireland, giving you the best choice of quality food that you love at the same great value anywhere in the country this summer. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Harvey Norman, your back-to-school technology specialists. We have everything they need to help them learn and achieve more in the new school year. With tablets from below $99, laptops from an incredible $249, printers from only $59, plus a huge range of essential technology accessories. At Harvey Norman, our friendly staff will help you choose the right device from our huge range in stock today. And we guarantee to beat all competitors' prices. Shop safely in store or online. Harvey Norman, your back-to-school technology specialists.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
Well, the Champions League and Europa League coming back this week. We've got action all across the weekend as we head into the mini tournaments in both Germany and in Portugal, which get underway from next Monday. Manchester United are going to be in action against FC Copenhagen in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. We'll see what happens with Man City in the Champions League tomorrow night when they take on the La Liga champions Real Madrid to see if they can progress into the next round. Chelsea have an almost impossible task on Saturday when they go away to the German champions Bayern Munich 3-0 down from the first leg, and also Chelsea licking their wounds after their defeat in the FA Cup final last weekend. Republic of Ireland legend John Giles is with us. John, of course, a legend of Leeds too. I was just thinking, John, when we're talking about European football coming back, you've played in a European final for Leeds. When you were going from playing in the Division 1 in terms of England into playing into Europe, how much of a change was it actually switching from the league to playing possibly even different styles of teams within the European Cup?
Well, I didn't find it that much difference, to be quite honest, Will. You know, a game of football is a game of football, and I think it can be exaggerated. You know, you go away, whether it be Germany or anywhere else, you're still playing on a football pitch, and that's it. You go and play. You could be a little bit more defensive than you normally are, but like most of our players had experience of European football at international level and that, you know. So it wasn't. I don't think so. There wasn't any great change where you could say, you know, whether you go to Turkey or Germany or Italy, you're playing against terrific players. And, like, you find a terrific player in Germany or Italy, no different to a terrific player in England or Wales or Ireland or of Irish descent. You know what I mean, Will?
And I'd imagine as well, John, when you were going into those European Cup campaigns, the fact that you'd played in the Intercity Fairs Cup with Leeds and then you're winning the First Division and going into the European, I assume the experience of having played in the Intercity tournament in the late 60s probably had to be a big help when you were going into your European runs too. Well,
it was, but in those days it was the Intercity Fairs Cup, and it was a very, very high competition. It wasn't like where Manchester United are playing tomorrow or that. Well, this was a tough guy, and I'll tell you why. To qualify for it in the old days, you had to win the league to qualify for the Champions, what's now the Champions League, which was the European Cup, right? So if you finished second or third, you went into the Intercities Fairs Cup, right? So I'm talking about now from Leeds' time. We won the Intercities Fairs Cup twice, and we got into a final another time, right? But you had to win the league to go into the European Cup. So we won, you know, the Inter Fairs Cup twice, and we were in the league. So when we played in what was the European League, the teams that we played in the Fairs Cup were just as good as the teams in the European Cup. Do you know what I mean?
I'd imagine for Manchester United, the likes of Lask and Copenhagen don't compare to what they would be playing in the Champions League. They're back in the Champions League for next season, John, given that they've qualified through the league to play in the competition. Yes. I kind of wonder for the Europa League now, aside from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanting to get a trophy as manager, and the players want to win competitions anyway, but I wonder if the motivation is slightly different for United now, John, compared to 3 years ago under Jose Mourinho, where they had to win the competition to try and qualify for the Champions League.
Well, I think Solskjaer would like to win it anyway. I think you'll find with any manager, whether it's Mourinho or anybody else, when he won that, he made it in his own head and to the supporters a major competition. You know, when you're winning it from a manager's point of view and a supporter's point of view, it's a major competition. If you're not in it, it's a Mickey Mouse competition, according to them. But I think Solskjaer said, I think he'd like to get a trophy of any description, to be quite honest, you know.
Alexis Sanchez.
And they have qualified, as you say.
Yeah.
But you'd like to qualify, you know, for this particular competition. You know, you're out of the top four. You can. It's not like the first cup that we played in at Leeds. Was very, very hard to qualify. You had to finish in the top three. If you wanted to play in the Champions League, what was then the Champions League, or is the Champions League now, you had to win it. You know, you have to win it. Now you can get it. If you finish in fourth place now, you get into the Champions League.
Yeah,
that's the difference. The Europa League is a different thing altogether. It's very much way down the list, really, on European competitions.
Yeah, I was just thinking, John, Alexis Sanchez finally has got his move away from Manchester United to Inter Milan. He's proved to be very expensive in terms of his wages. A player coming in potentially in Jadon Sancho is probably going to be very expensive for Manchester United to bring him in. He's been very good since he left Man City to go to Borussia Dortmund, but it looks, if reports are true, that it's going to cost around £100 million to bring him back. It's become an interesting pathway, these players going to Germany from England, John, because when they go there, whether it's Jude Bellingham going in the same direction from Birmingham to Borussia Dortmund, they know if they perform, they can come back to England on big money.
Well, it shows you how much it's changed. Well, and I'll go back to my time. When I signed a contract at 17, you actually signed for life, you know, and there was a maximum wage anyway. But if I was dealing with Matt Busby at that particular time and my contract had run out, and I said, and that was only between 15 quid and 20 quid, you know, I won 17 quid, he could say, no, I'm not paying you that. And I said, well, I'm not going to sign. Any manager, you know, the manager had to say, well, that's okay, but you can't play for anybody else. And how it's changed now, like this, the lad as a kid, he's always an outstanding player, could tell Manchester City, he was going. Whether they liked it or not, he was going. Now, I know there's a 50 million fee to Manchester City for that, but he's coming back for £1 million. £1 million, 100 million quid, you know? And how it's changed. And obviously he would have an agent to be getting terms now that he might not even be in the first team at Manchester City, even now, Will. Do you know what I mean? So he's in a position to demand big wages, maybe a cut of the fee from Dortmund. Is it Dortmund he's at?
Yeah, he's at Dortmund currently, yeah.
You know, so times have changed in a big way for the player, but he looks to be an outstanding player, to be fair. And if he's an outstanding player and he does what he should do, then he'd be worth the money to Manchester United.
I wonder as well, John, is it going to lead to more players making that trip to leave Premier League clubs where maybe they feel they're not going to get an opportunity because the big clubs have got, you know, so many established players? For Jadon Sancho, he would have had to get in ahead of 4 or 5 players who would have been ahead of him in Man City. I wonder if they'll be attracted to go abroad to try and come back if they see that the English teams are willing to buy them back.
There's no doubt. Well, I mean, all those young lads now have agents, and of course, I've seen how they do it now. This kid has done it, and you've seen it. The agents will know now. They have an outstanding player at Chelsea or Manchester City or anybody else for that matter, right? They just said, let your contract run out, and they can go. The young players can go now. And now that trend has been set, I think you'll see more doing it, Will. Definitely.
John, I'd never be rude enough to ask you what you think you would have been worth in the current transfer market, but I'm thinking, say, someone like Bobby Charlton, who you've spoken about as one of the best players you've ever seen, or Billy Bremner, who you would have played beside. I assume if they were on a transfer market with the kind of money now, they'd be 100 million players, would they?
More. Bobby Charlton was the best player I ever played with or against, and Billy was a terrific player, but Bobby Charlton is just out of this world. You know, he's record goal scorer for England, he record goal for Manchester United, and a midfield player, Will. You know, he scored about 270 goals for Manchester United, but he was a genuine midfield player. He wasn't a midfield player going up front and that. This was him, Bobby, doing it on his own, beating players, shooting from 40 yards out with either foot. This fellow, like 100 million. No chance. 200 million minimum.
We're talking Neymar money here. John, thanks a million for joining us as always.
Thank you.
Right, thanks there to John Giles. Still coming up after 8 o'clock, we will be taking a look at the World Snooker Championship, where John Higgins registered a very rare 147 at the Crucible, his first ever in the competition, and we'll be taking a look at the PGA Championship as well after the news at 8.
Sign up for News Talk Extra, our email newsletter straight to your inbox. newstalk.com/extra.
At VHI, our health team online is ready to take care of you, which means no waiting for important services like physiotherapy for your aches and pains or speech and language support. And best of all, they are fully covered on all our VHI plans. To book an online appointment right now, search VHI Online Health. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
When it comes to your mortgage journey, we believe in permanent support. That's why we're now cutting our rates for both new and existing customers, meaning you'll benefit from lower repayments every month and see real savings on your mortgage. Talk to us today or visit permanenttsb.ie. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Rates available to new and existing home mortgage customers only. Product eligibility criteria applies. Maximum loan to value is 90%. Security and insurance is required. Warning, if you do not keep up your repayments, you may lose your home. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
You know that feeling you get when you sense a team's winning streak is about to end? Or when you know the pundits are getting it all wrong? That feeling? That's me. I'm your hunch. I was there back in Istanbul when you just knew the comeback was on. I'm the guy that tells you when the odds don't look so odd. I'm your hunch. It's time to start listening.
Heed your hunch with Betway. Download the app to find out more about Betway's Bet Club. Full terms apply. 18 plus Dunlewy.net. Bet the responsible way.
From food to home to fashion, Dunnes Stores brings you great quality and great value all in one store. And now when you spend €10 or more in-store on homewares or clothing, we'll give you a fabulous €5 off €25 voucher to spend on groceries. So if you're stocking up on socks, buying holiday at home basics or refreshing your home with candles, throws and cushions, spend €10 or more and get a €5 off €25 grocery voucher to spend on your food shop. Only at Dunnes Stores. Always better value. T's and C's apply. Minimum spend required.
Kevin Sharkey, Ireland's leading contemporary artist. His first exhibition of 28 abstract paintings sold out in 24 hours and first auction in under 2 hours. Don't miss your chance to acquire a stunning original Kevin Sharkey painting direct from the artist. This Saturday and Sunday at the Grand Hotel Malahide from 11 till 7. Search kevin-sharkey.com for details.
Get the latest News Talk podcasts at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app. On 106 to 108 FM, on newstalk.com, on smart speaker, and on the News Talk app. This is News Talk.
It's 8 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Ben Finnegan. 69 new cases of COVID-19 have been detected in the Republic. 5 new deaths have been reported. However, 4 have been late notifications from previous months. Over half of cases over the past 14 days have been in Laois, Offaly and Kildare, with elderly people there recommended to limit interactions. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr Ronan Glynn outlines where the cases have occurred over the past 2 weeks.
137 cases were in Kildare, with 111 in Dublin, 53 in Laois, 36 in Offaly and 25 in Limerick. The remaining 107 cases were spread across 17 counties.
The reproduction number, meanwhile, for the virus has risen to 1.8. Professor Philip Nolan, chair of NEFIT's modelling group, says the country is going in the wrong direction.
The situation this week is that we've seen a very sharp increase in the number of cases being reported over the last week. The average number of cases being confirmed per day has more than doubled in that week. We're reporting on average 53 cases per day, so a very significant increase there.
43 cases, meanwhile, were confirmed earlier in Northern Ireland, meaning there's been 112 cases reported on the island today. Northern Ireland's pubs won't be allowed open until at least September 1st. Those that serve food had been planned to open from next week. The Justice Minister says everyone needs to be educated about consent and not just young people. A report into the prosecution of sexual offences has strongly recommended that steps be taken to educate the public about sexual autonomy and consent. The report was commissioned following the Belfast rape trial in 2018. Minister Helen McEntee says an awareness campaign will be drawn up to reach the wider public.
This is something that we need to expand more broadly, because obviously the issue of consent is not just a problem for students in higher education. So we want to look at a higher education piece, but also a more general education piece for the broader public. To do that, then obviously we'll be working with Minister Foley as well in her education brief, but also with my colleague Minister O'Gorman, who will be taking on the equality brief as well.
It's 2 minutes past 8.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to the AA. For great value home insurance, go online to theaa.ie.
Mild and dry in most places to start tonight. Rain will spread from the west later. Overnight lows of 13 to 15 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back to hour 2 of Off the Ball. Will O'Callaghan sitting in and keeping the seat warm for Nathan Murphy on this Thursday evening. I'm sure he is sitting back watching the golf currently And at Harding Park, it is currently quite congested at the top of the leaderboard as the first set of players start to come in towards the clubhouse. There is now a four-way tie for the lead. Scotty Scheffer, Martin Keimer, Xander Schauffele and Zach Johnson are all currently at 5 under par. There are 2 Irish players out on course currently. Shane Lowry, trying to make it back-to-back majors, having won the Open Championship last summer, is 1 under par after 13 holes. And Rory McIlroy has just birdied the 12th to go back to 1 under par. They're both in a tie for 21st position. Graham McDowell will be out for his first round at around 9:30 Irish time. Rangers have been knocked out of the Europa League, beaten on the night by Bayer Leverkusen 1-0, and they go out 4-1 on aggregate. Sevilla into the quarter-finals. The record winners of the competition have beaten Roma 2-0. Just underway at Molineux, Wolves are taking on Olympiacos, and that tie is currently 1 goal apiece. Time for us to talk snooker. There we go, the soundtrack of BBC's coverage of the World Snooker Championship. We're joined by a man who provides the soundtrack on the commentary, the 1997 World Snooker Champion, Ken Doherty. Ken, how are things?
Very good evening. I'm grand, thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
Bit of history at the Crucible earlier today, Ken. John Higgins, his first ever Crucible 147. And in terms of getting that maximum break, he's the first player since Stephen Hendry against Stuart Bingham back in 2012, which I guess just goes to show how difficult it is to actually do it at the Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, over, the longer matches, best of 19 in the first round, best of 25, then 33 and 35 for the final. You would expect a lot more centuries a lot more maximums over the past 8 years. But yeah, they're very, very difficult. A lot of pressure on it. It's Crucible history, and it's surprising, I think, to a lot of us because of the standard over the years. It's got better and better. You'd expect more players to make maximums more regularly, and particularly at the World Championship, but it just hasn't happened. And I suppose maybe might be something to do with having the crowd here, is not having the crowd, with having the crowd. Maybe players are a little bit more relaxed. I'm expecting, believe it or not, I know it's a big call, but I'm going to expect one more maximum before this championship is over, because we've had 2 once when Ronnie O'Sullivan and Ali Carter had good few years ago now, where there was 2 maximums in the championship. I'm going to predict that maybe that might happen again this year.
Go on, predict to me then who's going to get it then.
Well, that's it. I'm going to say Ronnie O'Sullivan. I thought a good prediction was Ronnie O'Sullivan to get a maximum and to win the championship. Was about 25-1. I think the title sponsors, Betfred, were offering. And I was tipping that up to all the snooker punters out there. And I think it could still be on, particularly the way Ronnie played in the first round.
Right, John Higgins might have to share that 55 grand yet. He's having to play very well in this match that he's in against Maplin at the moment as well. I mean, he needed that to try and get back into it. It's all level and looking square into tonight's session. So John Higgins been pushed to the pin of his collar here.
Yeah, absolutely. He was 7-4 down when he made that maximum as well. And of course, there was an interval which would have benefited him then, that he could relax and soak it in, because if you make a maximum, you go straight. You're still full of adrenaline. You're still excited about it, and sometimes you can lose your concentration. But he's in a hell of a match. I mean, I've been very impressed with Kurt Mafflin, the way he's played in this championship so far, and the way he's played against John Higgins, because I thought it would be a step up in class for him and what he wouldn't be used to at this World Championship. But he seems to have sort of reveled in it, and he's really. He'd be disappointed he's only 8-all, because I think against any other player, or most of the other players, he would have been at least 10-6 going into tonight's session. 8-all. Higgins stole 3 frames on the black in that session earlier, so he's well back in it, and the momentum has swung now across to the 4-time champion.
You mentioned the atmosphere and how it's slightly different without having supporters in attendance. If things had gone to plan in England, we would have had some attendance for the first round last Saturday. That wasn't to be, and now we're back to the enhanced crowd noise that we heard when John Higgins put in the 147 earlier. I wonder, does it make it any different for John, the fact that there wasn't a packed Crucible to actually see it this morning?
I think, I think we'd all love to have the crowd there, because that creates the atmosphere, and you sort of feed off the crowd as a player as well. And to make a maximum with, nobody there, because every shot during the maximum, the crowd will be clapping, because they sense, a sense of sort of history in the making. When there's no crowd there, it's a little bit flatter. There's no doubt about it. And you want to enjoy it with the crowd, particularly if you do make the maximum. So it's a big difference, all right. But, it's a shame we don't have any crowd here. But look, let's just think of the positives that this tournament is going ahead. They've done some great work to get this championship going ahead. So we're just delighted, even if it's behind closed doors, at least we still have some great snooker to look forward to over the next, 12 or so days.
Ken, when it comes to you and competitive 147s, the unfortunate part is people probably remember your Miss Black in the Masters final in 2000, probably more so than the one that you made in 2012.
Yeah, I know. People say, I remember where I was when I saw you win the World Championship. But do you remember the time you missed the black and the 147? Well, of course I bloody remember it. I keep having nightmares about it. But it was for a car, a yellow car it was. So I just say that I didn't like the colour of the car, so that's my excuse. It didn't really bother me.
Sounds like you really didn't miss out. But it does go to show, though, how difficult it is to get a 147. You look at all the tournaments that you've played over the years. I'm sure you've banged in loads of 147s in non-competitive matches along the way.
Sure.
But when you get to that, I suppose the tension of tournament play, it just ratchets it up.
Yeah, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. You don't get many opportunities to do it either over the course, believe it or not, because you're so wrapped up in trying to win the frame and rather than chase 147s. But at the same time, I think for me, the thing that I look back on is the sense of history and nostalgia of making a 147 at a big event. My match was against Matthew Stevens in 2000 Masters final, which would have been, the previous one was Kirk Stevens at the Masters in 1984. So that will tell you, the sense of history and the achievement of making it. And John Higgins now has added this little feather to his cap of making a maximum at the Crucible. I think he's only one of 7 players to have made maximums at the Crucible. So it's a fantastic achievement, along with all the other great achievements that he's had as well.
Yeah, it's a very small club. In terms of yourself, you were hoping to qualify for the Crucible for the first time in 6 years this season, and you got to the penultimate round of the qualifiers, played a guy you knew really well in Mark King. Didn't quite happen for you. But I was watching the telly after you'd won the previous round before, and you were feeling like obviously you were playing some very good snooker, but it's a case of you got yourself a pretty tricky opponent, which just proved a step too far.
Yeah, Mark King played great snooker. He's a very experienced player, and it showed how well he played. Even when he pushed Ding all the way, he only lost 10-9 to Ding in the first round here. So yeah, it was a difficult one for me. It's difficult in the qualifiers because every player wants to get to the Crucible and just play there, and even players like me have played at the Crucible for many, many years. It's just such a special place, and I miss playing there. And that's one of the highlights. Even, when you're not playing there, it's just to commentate or do the analysis on it. It's still fantastic. It's just a great venue, great atmosphere. And you get the sense of history when you walk out from those curtains and onto that Crucible floor.
I can imagine you want to go to the table at the Crucible anyway, but was the tour card in the back of your mind when you knew if you'd won a couple more rounds, you're assured of a tour card for next year?
Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah, but I don't know what's going to happen now. We'll just have to wait and see for next year. I may be offered a wild card, and if they do, then I definitely want to continue on. I'm going to the Crucible actually for the World Seniors, which starts on the Wednesday when the World Professional Championship finishes. So we play the World Seniors Championships at the Crucible. So at least I get to play there anyway. But it's in the World Seniors. But I'll wait and see what happens. I still love playing. I still love competing. I still love being involved in the other aspects of the game. And I'd like to continue for a little while longer, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, because Mark Williams mentioned you last week. He's 45. He says he reckons he's got about 5 more years to go. He said, look, Ken Doherty's 50 and he's still playing at the moment and trying to get out in the tour as often as he possibly can. Does it become more difficult when you get that bit older, Ken, and you see these kind of younger players coming up?
Yeah, I think it definitely does, and also the time, your commitment to the game, when you have other things in your life, family and stuff like that, and other things going on. It does become, you can't do the 7 or 8 hours that I once did when I was an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old when I first came on the circuit. I can't do that anymore. So it does get a little bit harder, and the competition has got a lot stiffer, there's no doubt. But one thing that never changes is your love or the passion for the game. You still love playing it. I still love the competition and competing and battling your wits against the other players, even the younger ones coming through. That love they'll never die for the game, for sure.
How do you think you get on, Ken, if you played the Ken Doherty of his mid-20s who was competing in world finals then?
Well, I tell you, when I'll be 51 now, not long away next month. But if I was playing a 20-year-old Ken Doherty, I'd like to I'd like to whisper in his ear, I know that, and give him a few pointers along the way. But now the Ken Doherty at 20 would give the Ken Doherty at 50 probably about 21 point start, I'd say.
Go on. What were the pointers you'd give to yourself then?
I'd say, I don't know where to start. How long have we got?
Look, I'm sure it's not that long of a list now, in fairness, Ken.
I'd just say, like, keep enjoying the game, keep practicing hard. What I'd say to the young kids coming through, work hard, and keep the practice, keep the love for the game, and also watch the other players. Watch a lot of the likes of the O'Sullivans and the Higginses and the Williamses, and all the great players, because when I was a kid at 20, I wish I had watched a lot more snooker on TV and listened to the guys, because you can learn so much from watching it. You think you know it all when you're 20, that you go in the practice table and you played a lot of tournaments. I didn't watch a lot of snooker on TV when I was that age, because I thought I'd seen it all, and I didn't want to be sort of, watching what other players did. But I wish I did, because you can learn so much from watching, and how they make breaks and how they go about making breaks and the tactical side. And I think that's what I would do, that's what I would say to a young sort of Ken Doherty. And also, don't be afraid to elaborate. Talk to sports psychologists, talk to coaches a bit more, and try and even improve on your technique as best way as you can. To get any little edge that you can, well, it's always a plus. Dennis Taylor's just walked into the rim. I wish I had to talk to him for many, many years over the years. I could have learned an awful lot more.
Well, you get to sit beside him on the BBC now. You get to learn plenty at this stage of your career.
I can't get a word in edgeways with him, though, when he's sitting beside me. That's the only problem,
I was just thinking as well, Ken, we were looking at the Sunday papers here on Off the Ball last weekend, and they were making the point that yourself and Fergal had missed out on the chance to get to the main draw, and that some of the other Irish players who are coming through, there seems to be some very good players, particularly from Cork at the moment, but it is very difficult for them to actually make that breakthrough and get to World Snooker Championship level, or even to get enough play on the tour to actually justify financially playing. Is it difficult to actually come through now?
It is very, very difficult, and Ross Bullman and the likes of Aaron Hill, who are really good players, I must say, and they've got a chance, but it's very, very difficult for them. And difficult for them living in Ireland to try and make the break. I mean, a lot of the Chinese players that you see on the tour, they live in Sheffield, they're playing in academies every day, they're playing with good, stiff competition, good practice partners. And that's what the likes of Aaron Hill and Ross Bullman and any aspiring young Irish player that wants to really make it as a professional, they've got to move. They've got to go to England. They've got to play in these academies and practice with these guys all the time, because it sharpens you up. You learn so much playing these lads. And when you go to tournaments that you're really ready to take on the big boys, and you've got lots of experience already before you even start. So that's what I'd have to say to him. But going to academies in Sheffield or anywhere in England costs a lot of money. So we're actually having a golf day for Aaron Hill to try and raise some money for him and hopefully get a bit of sponsorship for him for the year. So, but he needs to get away and go to England if he really wants to have a good chance there.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of Mark Allen, when we look at Irish interest in this tournament too, he was coming in on the back of doing really well in that Championship Tour event which took place in June. He got to the final. He's 4th seed going into it. We're thinking he's probably going to go deep into the tournament. He has 5 centuries during that match against Jamie Clark, who was a qualifier, and still loses out. Very disappointing for Mark Allen, given the form that he was in, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of my, tips for this year's World Championship. The form that he was in, as you say, the way he played down that Tour Championship, I thought Mark Allen was going to go very, very deep in this tournament. I still think that, he's a possible world champion. There's no doubt about that. But he'd be very disappointed losing to Jamie Clark, a qualifier debutant. And the way he played, he had 5 centuries in the match and still ended up losing 10-8. So he'll be absolutely kicking himself that this was a golden opportunity. And because of where he was in the draw as well, he would have been playing Anthony McGill, I think, in the next round to get into the quarterfinals. He would have had a really good chance this year, but it wasn't to be. And maybe he'll learn from that and come back stronger next year.
You were tipping up Ronnie O'Sullivan to potentially win the tournament and also to get a 147 at some point over the next 2 weeks. He really laid down a marker in his first match. He wins 10-1, no problems whatsoever. Yeah, and record time as well for a first round win by about 45 minutes. It was incredible display. Now, he got a lot of help from his opponent, Tep Choya.
But at the same time, you only have to do what you do when you get to the table. He did it in style. He looked in imperious form. And we've been talking about this in the BBC. Maybe without a crowd, and even though when I played O'Sullivan, you're playing against most of the crowd because most of the crowd want to see O'Sullivan win. It's like he's playing at home all the time and you're playing away. But he has a lot of hassle with the crowd. He has a lot of stuff to do with the press. There's no press at the Crucible. There's no crowd at the Crucible. There probably won't be anybody at the stage door waiting for him. So he's less sort of pressure on him now, the fact that there's no crowd. That may play into his hands. Now, it remains to be seen. But he may be very, very relaxed. And he spoke about it in interviews that he seems less sort of pressurised this year. And it might really suit him, might play into his hands. And we might see O'Sullivan the way he normally plays. Because sometimes over the 17 days for O'Sullivan, over the past few years, he's got very impatient. And after about a week or 10 days, he wants to get out of the place. He just can't handle it. So this may play into his hands. It remains to be seen. But it sort of begs the question.
When you're an opponent against Ronnie O'Sullivan, I was watching a documentary last week about Alex Higgins, who also plays remarkably quickly and remarkably in an unorthodox kind of way. Is it tricky when you're up against someone like O'Sullivan who will just run off a frame that quickly, where it could be tricky to get your own rhythm as an opponent?
Yeah, I mean, you could, he's so fast. I mean, it's like 14, 15 seconds a shot. You go back to your chair, you pour a glass of water, you fill it up with ice, and he's already on 60 or 70, the frame is nearly over. And when he gets onto a run, he can be very dominant, very off-putting, very hard to play. But I must say, over the times, apart from one time where he beat me in a UK final, he destroyed me. But over the years, I've loved playing at Ronnie O'Sullivan. I've loved the atmosphere. I've loved the sort of the test of playing someone like that, and the likes of Jimmy White when you used to play him in London, or Stephen Hendry. You wanted to play the big boys. You wanted to see your game against theirs and how it would stand up to them. I love Ronnie, so I love him playing. I love watching him play. I love commentating on him. I think he's been brilliant for snooker. I wouldn't always agree with what he says after matches or in the press or stuff like that, but when he's on the table and when he's in great form, in sporting terms, for us as snooker players or just lovers of the game, there's nothing better to see.
Yeah, Joe Trump in second round action at the moment. He's trying to break that curse of a first-time winner trying to successfully defend their title. He wasn't great in his first round match, but I get the feeling that that's sometimes just a case of kind of getting that rust and cobwebs out of the way after not having played for around a month coming into this.
Yeah, you would say so, but we were in the studio today when he played the first session of the second match against Yanbing Tao. He's 5-3 down, and lucky to be 5-3 down. Could have easily been 6-2. Doesn't look himself. I thought, today, after getting over that tough first round, that he would sort of just take off and start playing the way he's been playing all season. But he looks like this weight of the World Championship